Hello. On Monday the 13th of April 2020, we saw an announcement from Kevin Anderson, the New South Wales State Minister for Better Regulation and Innovation, and Dominic Perrottet, the New South Wales State Treasurer, in regard to a support package for landlords and tenants who have been impacted as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Jo Natoli, the Principal of the Rental Specialists, and since that announcement on Monday, we've been inundated with questions from landlords and tenants about what it all means and how they're affected, so we're breaking it down with a few simple Q&A videos. This is our second Q&A session, and today's question is, what does the regulation say about evictions? Generally speaking, the regulation says that a landlord is prohibited, meaning you can't do it. A landlord is prohibited from giving a tenant who is a member of a household financially impacted from the COVID-19 pandemic a termination notice for non-payment of rent or charges. Now that means rent, water usage charges, or utility charges. So a mental note, when I say rent, it's inclusive of those other charges that a tenant usually is liable to pay. A landlord is prohibited from applying to the tribunal for a termination order relating to a termination notice given to an impacted tenant for non-payment of rent or charges, and is prohibited from applying to NCAP for a termination order in relation to the tenancy solely on the ground that the tenant has failed to pay their rent. These prohibitions apply during the moratorium. You'll recall in our last video that we said that the moratorium is for a 6-month period starting on the 15th of April. So, the landlord can't issue a termination notice to a tenant for a non-payment of rent. They can't apply to the tribunal for an order terminating the tenancy of an impacted tenant, and they can't apply to the tribunal for a termination order that is solely on the grounds that the impacted tenant has failed to pay their rent. So that naturally leads on to another question, doesn't it? Are there any circumstances that do allow for a landlord to evict a tenant when the tenant is not paying their rent? And the answer to that is yes, of course there are. During the moratorium period, that 6-month period, a landlord may only evict an impacted tenant for non-payment of rent or charges if 1. The landlord gives a termination notice or applies to the tribunal for a termination order at least 60 days after the commencement of the regulation. And secondly, the landlord and the impacted tenant have participated in good faith in a formal rent negotiation process about the rent payable. And 3, it's fair and reasonable in the circumstances of the case for the landlord to give the termination notice to the tenant or apply for the order. So landlords, there are avenues for you to explore if your tenant isn't paying their rent. And the key here, and it's been made abundantly clear by the government, is that you need to be acting in good faith. In our next Q&A, we'll talk about what that actually means. Now, if you'd like further information about this topic or any other topic relating to your investment property in New South Wales, please be in touch with us. You can call us, you can email us, you can visit our website, and you can even check out all our other videos on YouTube. Take care.